Have you ever experienced a devastating breakup, a professional failure, or the loss of a loved one, and instead of crying, you immediately went to the bookstore? You bought 3 books on the psychology of attachment, 2 on the neuroscience of grief, and 1 on the philosophy of stoicism. You spent the night highlighting passages, categorizing your pain into phases, and explaining to your friends exactly which neurotransmitters were responsible for your current state. On the surface, you look composed. You look like someone who had a handle on things. But deep down in the quiet spaces where logic doesn't reach, you were still drowning. In psychology, we call this intellectualization. It is a sophisticated defense mechanism where the mind handles emotional conflict or internal and external stressors by excessive use of abstract thinking or the making of generalizations to control or minimize disturbing feelings. For the highly intelligent, this is the ultimate survival tactic. You use your brain as a shield to protect your heart. You turn your pain into an object of study so that you don't have to feel the sting of its reality. But there is a high price for this safety. When you intellectualize, you aren't healing. You are just filing your trauma away in a library where you never intend to check out the books. Today, we are going to tear down the walls of that library. We're going to explore why your intelligence might be the biggest obstacle to your emotional freedom and how to finally stop explaining your pain and start feeling it. To understand why we do this, we have to look at how the brain manages overwhelm. When we face an emotion that is too big, too raw, or too illogical, like deep shame or crushing grief, our ego feels threatened. For a person who has spent their whole life being rewarded for thinking, the most natural response is to move the problem from the limbic system, the emotional center, to the prefrontal cortex, the analytical center. Think of it as a translation process. You take a raw, screaming emotion and translate it into a dry, academic language. Instead of saying, "I am terrified of being alone," you say, "I am currently experiencing an acute activation of my abandonment anxiety due to childhood attachment inconsistencies." Does it sound smart? Yes. Does it feel better? Temporarily. But notice what happened. You've distanced yourself from the experience. By labeling the emotion, you've turned it into a thing that exists outside of you. You've become the scientist observing the specimen rather than the person living the life. The danger of intellectualization is that it gives you the illusion of progress. You feel like because you understand why you are sad, you shouldn't be sad anymore. You think that once you've diagnosed the problem is solved. But emotions aren't math problems. You can't solve a broken heart with an equation. You can't think your way out of a feeling. The most tragic part about intellectualization is that it is often reinforced by society. In our world, the person who stays calm and can rationalize their trauma is seen as strong, mature, and evolved. We praise the stoic leader and the objective thinker. For former gifted children, this trap is even deadlier. You were raised to believe that your brain was your best asset. So when life gets hard, you double down on what you're good at. You analyze your childhood, you read the latest research on trauma-informed care, and you become an expert on your own pathology. I've seen clients in therapy who can give a 20-minute lecture on their mother's narcissistic personality disorder and how it shaped their avoidant attachment style, all without a single tear, without a crack in their voice. They have the map of the forest, but they refuse to step into the woods. This creates a profound state of emotional disconnect. You become a floating head. You live from the neck up. Your body might be tight, your stomach might be in knots, your sleep might be ruined, all physical signals of trapped emotion. But your mind is busy constructing a perfect narrative for why everything is fine, or at least understandable. You are using your intelligence to gaslight your soul. You are telling yourself that because you have an explanation for the fire, you aren't actually being burned. There is a famous phrase in trauma therapy: the body keeps the score. Your prefrontal cortex can lie to you. It can build elaborate stories and justifications, but your nervous system cannot lie. When we intellectualize, we suppress the physiological completion of an emotion. An emotion is meant to move through the body. It starts as a sensation, reaches a peak, and then dissipates. But when we catch that emotion with our logic and bottle it up in an academic jar, the energy stays stuck in our tissues. This is why smart people often suffer from chronic, unexplained pain, migraines, digestive issues, or sudden bursts of irrational anger. The body is screaming what the mind refuses to acknowledge. By staying in your head, you are essentially living in a state of permanent flight. You are running away from the messiness of human vulnerability. You fear that if you actually let yourself feel the depths of your sadness or the heat of your rage, you will lose control. You fear that the logic you've built your life upon will shatter, leaving you stupid or weak. But true strength isn't the absence of feeling, it is the capacity to hold it. True intelligence is knowing that your brain is only half the story. So how do we stop? How do we move from the library of our mind back into the sanctuary of our heart? The first step is recognizing the difference between insight and integration. Insight is knowing why you are the way you are. Integration is feeling the parts of you that you've been hiding from. To break the habit of intellectualization, you must learn to lower the altitude of your thoughts. When you find yourself starting a sentence with, "I think I'm feeling," stop. Change it to, "My body feels." Instead of explaining your anxiety, describe the tightness in your chest. Instead of rationalizing your grief, describe the hollowness in your throat. This shift moves you from the role of the observer back into the role of the participant. It will feel uncomfortable. It will feel dumb at first. Your brain will scream at you to go back to the books, to find another theory, to analyze this discomfort. Don't. Stay in the sensation. Let the tears come without needing to explain where they came from. Let the anger hum in your muscles without needing to justify it. You are more than your thoughts. You are a living, breathing, feeling animal. And the most intelligent thing you can ever do is allow yourself to be fully human. Ifs of intelligence are beautiful. Your ability to analyze, to synthesize, and to understand the world is a superpower. But even a superpower can become a prison if it's used to lock out the truth of your own experience. The library in your heart is a great place to visit, but it's a lonely place to live. Today I invite you to step out of the stacks. Put down the books on grief and just grieve. Put down the articles on anxiety and just breathe. You don't need to be an expert on your pain to be worthy of healing from it. You don't need a diagnosis to justify your tears. You are allowed to feel things that don't make sense. You are allowed to be illogical. Because at the end of the day, we aren't remembered for how well we explained our lives. We are remembered for how deeply we lived them and how much we allowed ourselves to be moved by the people and the world around us. Take off the armor. The world is waiting for the real you, not the one who has all the answers, but the one who has the courage to feel the questions. Be gentle with yourself. Your mind is a great servant, but your heart is the master.